Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
We
Kyle,
just
you
do
good to
that.
go?
Where were you on that, Kyle?
Yeah, was I supposed to join in on that?
Does everybody have to clap?
Yeah, I want to
No,
clap.
it'll be fine.
I want to clap.
He
He
wants
wants
to
to
clap.
clap.
All right.
Team
Here
clap.
we go. 1, 2, 3.
Nailed
There it is.
Nailed it. Perfect.
First shot. 1 shot, 1 kill from Kyle.
Nice.
All right. We ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here we go. Now on Zero Block 30, we are privileged to have back again. And because I wanted to introduce him as the first ever chicken farmer on the show, but he's been on the show already, even with his chicken skills. We have Medal of Honor recipient, Marine, and all-around good guy, Kyle Carpenter. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us, man.
Always an honor to be here, and I'm excited, a little scared, but really happy for round 2. Always a pleasure.
Well, you
Yeah.
already did the pizza review. I think that was probably the harder part.
Honestly, I think that's the most nervous I've ever been for any type of media publicity, any type of thing like that. So, but I think it went all right.
Oh, it went very well.
I think Dave was even more nervous. He could not for the life of him open the MRE bag.
That was the
could
best
not
part.
for the life of him. He finally had
Well,
to use
honestly,
scissors.
they're tough. If you don't have a knife and you don't know how to do it, when I first opened the MRE pack, I looked like an idiot too.
Oh, yeah. It's very foreign. So if you don't know what you're doing, you don't have any instructions, because we definitely didn't tell Dave what to do. We just kind of loosely guided him. So it was fun to watch.
You just,
Oh,
you
yeah,
just
we just
laid
threw
it
him
out
in the
there on
fire.
the table and
Yeah.
let him at it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
But low score on the MRE pizza, but you'll have to stay tuned. That'll come out on Veterans Day, that video. But that was a ton of fun to watch. But
All right, Kyle. So I want to get into some of the actual business because I follow you pretty closely on social media. We've become pals over the last couple months, couple years. Your life right now seems like it's probably the worst that it's been in a long time. I haven't seen you jumping off any docks in Mexico lately because you're actually doing a book tour.
I mean, there's still many of those things to come in the future. But, yeah, right now I am completely enveloped in this book tour. It dropped today, but as all of you know, I'm privileged to be friends with all of you and have spent time with you. You know that there's multiple ways to kind of look at my journey. You know, and with this book, you can look at it as I started it 2 years ago, or you can look at it as my journey really began in 2009 when I joined, and then in 2010 when I was injured, and I thought it was, my last moments on this earth.
And there's so many
Now-
things in the book, too, that I think people look at it and go, oh, I'm going to read this story of a Medal of Honor recipient who did this incredible thing. But there was so much I was surprised to find in the book that was so deeply relatable to anybody. Common themes of just being frustrated with life and maybe on a different level, but the ways that you looked at it and overcame these things. I thought staying motivated, saying thank you, and having gratitude for everything, knowing that especially for military members, after they get out, there's that identity crisis, and you saying you are more than a ribbon rack on your resume. There's so much more to it. So I just finished reading it this past weekend, and I thought it was, especially for me, I was saying I can be a negative Nancy sometimes. And it was there was so many good reminders in there about how good life can be and no matter what. So,
Well, first of all, thank you for that, but that is by far the greatest compliment you could give me and my book, because that was my goal and my mission from day one. I wanted to write a book that transcended all boundaries and write something that you didn't have to have worn the uniform and be a veteran or have been to combat to pick it up and understand. I wanted to write something that I tried to keep in mind from a CEO to a homeless person could pick up and not only understand but take something from. And I am so happy and thankful and excited. It just turned out better than I could have even hoped for.
I mean, evident
Yeah.
by the fact you say you wanted to reach all different walks of life, one of the most notable people on the back cover here is Coach K, Coach Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah, which I got a lot of shit for.
Well, you know what?
From
From
El
Dave.
Presidente.
Some people don't like Duke, but you know what? I'm a big Coach K guy, so I get it,
No.
and I appreciate that.
Are we really gonna make Kyle Carpenter's interview about fucking West Point, Connor?
Yeah.
Did I say anything about West Point? Did I say
That was
anything
the
about West Point?
illusion. That was the illusion.
Did I give any indication I was talking about West Point? No, I'm just talking about Coach K. He's a basketball coach to many people. How did that relationship come about?
So my co-author, Don Yeager, is very close with him. And just having that connection. And, Coach K, huge supporter of the military and with his Olympic basketball teams and the things he's done throughout his career. He has emphasized and stressed and tried to teach and bring in external motivations from our troops and our military to pass along to his teams. And so I am so thankful for him and all of my endorsements, but also, the reason I'm not a Duke fan, I can't say I just absolutely love basketball and I watch every game, but, I have Zach Brown, former ambassador to the United Nations, and my former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, General and Secretary of Defense, former Secretary of Defense James Mattis, and Coach K. And I did that with like the specific intent of, my book is not a military book. It's more of a journey of the human spirit and trying to reach and appeal and connect with as many people as possible from as many walks of life and backgrounds as possible. I tried to choose my endorsements to be from different areas of life and different expertise and different types of areas and places in the world. And so the endorsements were just icing on the cake.
Well, I think too, there was so many moments, like you said, you want to appeal to so many people. And there was a specific moment in the book I wanted to ask about where during your recovery, which countless surgeries, many years in the hospital, and how long it took to rehabilitate, to get yourself back to being functioning. And it's the little things. And I think military or not, so many people, again, can relate to that. Anybody going through a tough time physically or even mentally, but there's a moment where you're in your kitchen at home and you're just trying to eat some late night cereal, which so many, I can crush a box of Reese's Puffs like you wouldn't believe late at night. You're just trying to eat a bowl of Wheaties because it's that comfort thing, eating a bowl of cereal late at night. And at this point, your jaw and your teeth are pretty much useless. Your motor skills is something, you're still struggling with it. And for the first time, you're trying to get the spoon up to your mouth and it's not, and you had been so strong for your family and everybody else around you out of trying to honor them. You didn't want them to hurt seeing you hurt, that finally your mom looked in and sees you with your head on the counter. And it was this bowl of cereal, this bowl of Wheaties, you said, that kind of broke your spirit there.
Completely broke me.
And you looked at her and you said the thing that I think you were afraid to say, who is ever going to love me? And I think that hit me so hard. People go through things and they feel like they're not worth it anymore, whether it's mental, physical, whatever. And that, I think, was this huge fear that you finally were holding and that you let out to your mom. And you guys had a conversation and you decided from then on, from this bowl of Wheaties on the counter at night, one night at home, that you were going to fight to make your life worth it and to let other people know. And I thought that was just maybe I ugly cried. Maybe I did. Yeah.
Was that your goal, to make Kate ugly cry when you wrote that passage?
It really.
Hey, it shows that it touched you, and that's why I wrote it, and to connect with people. And so I'm sorry you ugly cried. Hopefully no one saw you, but thank you for telling me that. But yeah, that was absolutely my lowest point. And for anyone that might be confused as to why I was home still so banged up, I had spent my first 3 months in the hospital at Walter Reed and a few weeks down at a polytrauma unit in Richmond, Virginia. And that was more of the kind of life-saving, keeping me alive. I had a trach in for months, which was just continuously stressful to kind of breathe through a straw. But, I finished up those first 3 months, and at the time, there were so many casualties coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. Walter Reed is the most miracle working, just incredible, amazing place on the face of the earth when it comes to caring for you in medical care. But at the time, they were completely overwhelmed. At one point, I remember just almost being dumbfounded because there were so many patients there that they started putting beds and patients in the hallways.
Wow.
So with that said, they were building this, which is now obviously complete, this Building 62, which was this amazing new Wounded Warrior Barracks building. But that wasn't opening until September of 2011. I was obviously injured in November of 2010. So after those first 3 months, after I got a little bit more stabilized, they allowed me, knowing how much longer I had to recover there, they allowed me to go home for a few months until September when that new building was completed. So I was at home early in the spring of 2011, and I was sitting at the kitchen counter, not to even mention the struggle it took just to make the cereal. I mean, my arms the way they were, I still had so many more surgeries to go. I hadn't had my nerve graft surgeries yet. It was, I just remember like the milk, it wasn't even a full gallon or half gallon, but it was like so heavy. I finally got it poured, and, that was a challenge, but then I try to eat it. I have nerve damage in my face. Most of my teeth are gone. I mean, I am in the very early stages of oral reconstructive surgeries. And so milk's going, running all down my chin. And I think up until that point, I had tried to stay so strong for my family because, forget my physical pain or what I was going through. It was such a burden on me and so hard. And I worried day in and day out, like, please just leave, go back to the hotel, take a break. Like, I hated that they were having to suffer through that with me.
Right.
And so when that moment came, I'm like, I can't even eat this bowl of cereal. And I think everything leading up into that point just accumulated, and I completely broke. And it was such a low point, but I'm so thankful for that moment because it allowed me to really look inside and think about and reflect in that moment. Cut out all the noise. And this is with anyone, any situation, any struggle in life. Cut out the noise. And when you really think about it, whatever life obstacles you encounter, at the end of the day, you really only have 2 options. You can either take that small step forward, and it's okay if it takes you a week to heal, a year to heal, or a lifetime to heal. Everybody's struggle is unique to them. It's not a comparison, and that's your own time to get better for yourself. But when that time comes, you have to realize you have only 2 options. You can either get up, and even though you don't know where you're going or what even tomorrow might hold, just take that next step forward. Or, like me, you could and I could have sat at that kitchen counter for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Do you grasp now the perspective that you have, or is that just so great that you can't even put your brain around that perspective? And then subsequently the burden, I'm assuming, of the feeling that you have to share those experiences with other people to help them.
So, it's important to note that it's 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I got injured 9 years ago. And through those 3 years in the hospital and my life since, whether I wanted to or not, so many times I was forced to search for those silver linings and that perspective through the long, dark, and many times painful nights in the hospital. But, with this book, I'm so thankful that the chips fell the way they did, and the timing of it happened, only now or 2 years ago when I started, because I wouldn't have been able to write it years ago. Like I was saying at the beginning, trying to write this to, share at the time would have only been experiences. But those experiences, with months and maybe a few years, led to life lessons. But now, so far down the road, those experiences which turn into life lessons, then those life lessons have now evolved into perspective. And so I am so thankful that there were those hard times, because I think without those, one, I wouldn't have as an effective of a story to connect with people, but also I wouldn't be who I am, and most importantly, where I am today without those beyond tough and painful moments. And so many beautiful moments throughout that as well. But, the tough times in life is obviously what tries us and teaches us. And, yes, it was an incredibly difficult journey and almost hard to convey at times. But with deep thought and self-reflection, accompanied by so many people, from my family to my amazing medical staff at Walter Reed, all the way to my college professors who loved and supported me. All of that together allowed me to be here in this moment, which I'm so thankful for, to be around this awesome group. But
though I will say, I wouldn't mind reading the book from the serial night. Like, Kyle Carpenter wrote a book called Fuck Wheaties. What is that about? But you let it marinate. Now you have this amazing perspective.
As a young Marine, whenever you got injured as a Lance Corporal, I think that's important to know, that you were on what many people do, just like a fire watch kind of situation. You're doing Overwatch that every Marine that's basically been to combat has been in a fire watch position. You come back, eventually you get awarded the medal, and you're one of only 2 living Medal of Honor recipients from the Iraq and Afghanistan war. As you've been traveling around, I'm sure that you've noticed that the award system in the Marine Corps is kind of bullshit. And we've talked about it before, that you've met so many Marines who are deserving of higher level awards. And why do you think the process is the way it is?
Oh, man, that's a really good question. But you're exactly right. There are just countless incredible, powerful, and superhuman stories out there that very unfortunately might never get recognized. But to know that, I think it gives us as veterans, and if you're comfortable to have a voice and to educate and share your experiences, I think that gives us the beautiful obligation to, obviously, Little Lance Corporal is not going to affect the grand scheme of things, the awards process, higher ups that are, whether it's sitting in the Pentagon or on a base somewhere far away from Afghanistan or when the action occurred. So I think it's just important to focus on what you know and the stories that are inspiring that very unfortunately, like we said, might never get recognized. But, that's up to us to continue to spread that message and that good word. And also, people always kind of think about the ones that are here, and maybe that wasn't the best way to put that, but also to continue to do these things and to educate people, not only for just the veterans that might not have got recognized, the service members that might not have got recognized, but their families, who served, and who, will wake up every day for the rest of their life without a loved one, or a kid waking up without a mom or a dad to make them a bowl of cereal in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many different reasons and motivations, and I guess.
No, that's a great
That's
answer.
a great
mean,
answer.
And so, and I
It's tough.
I
It's
also
tough.
want to know, because you came back as a corporal, like you got out. Whenever I got out of the Marine Corps and I decided to get into the podcast biz, I had somebody that I could look up to in like Big Cat and KFC and Dave and things like that. I imagine being in the Medal of Honor Society is a little bit different. When you first got the medal and Barack Obama put it on you, was there anyone who really said, you know what, come on, Kyle, you can hang out under my wing. I'm going to teach you the ropes and how to do this thing?
Like my fellow recipients?
Right.
Oh, man. I cannot say enough amazing stuff about them. Yeah, they are just great representatives and great mentors. And from the moment, it's still so surreal for me to walk into an event or to do a function with this incredible group of guys, and I still feel like that Lance Corporal that's nervous standing at parade rest with, like your fire team leader outside the barracks as like a boot. But, from the moment I stepped into that first event, they did exactly that. They put their arm around me, and everything from, just coaching me how to carry myself, the things I might encounter, whether it be from fellow veterans, the media, or whatever we might encounter as Medal of Honor recipients. But, also to encourage me to live my life and to remind me that, these events will always be here. You'll always be a Medal of Honor recipient, but to continue school and to stay motivated with school,
Right.
and to
Go to Mexico and jump off of a dock.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
And jump
But-
out of planes and do tough
Sorry, Mom.
mutters and go back
Sorry,
to
Mom.
Afghanistan. And
Yeah.
sorry, Mom. All these other things that you've done.
That honestly probably should have been the title of your book. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Mom.
But
Yeah.
so the title of your book, You Are Worth It, Building a Life Worth Fighting For. You came into the office today, and as we're talking October 15th, the book is finally out. After this 2-year journey, you had your journey from your injury to your recovery to the present day, and you have this 2-year journey of writing this book and telling your story. Can you describe the feeling that you have today, knowing that now this book is out there and that presumably millions of people are going to read, internalize, share with their friends, want to talk about at dinner parties? Can you talk about that feeling for you today?
A few different aspects. I mean, just at face value, I mean, it uncovers every aspect and second of my entire journey. So it's kind of strange to know that whoever reads it, I mean, the world will know just that much of my story and what I
Right.
went through.
Did you know Kyle's phone was only on 7% when the president called him to tell him that he got the Medal of Honor?
Okay,
Yeah.
don't bring that back.
We're all
up.
going to know. It's out there.
But much more importantly, and obviously I'm so thankful that I had an awesome team to really, I wouldn't change one word in there. They probably hated me through the process because I think they had a significant more idea emails that came in at 2 or 3 a.m. instead of 2 or 3 p.m. during the normal workday. But I did it right, and I made it my priority, and I'm just so happy about it. But if I really think about it, without trying to get choked up, but this book, it's just as much mine as it is the guys that were there to the right and left of me in Afghanistan. And I had a unit reunion last summer in Oklahoma City. And I saw one of my buddies who actually...
Classic party spot, Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Bricktown.
Crazy, I know. But, we're talking, and we hadn't seen each other in a few years. And I actually talk about him in the book. But, he asked me what I was doing now and at the time now. But I told him about the book and kind of the angle I was taking. And he started tearing up, and he told me that, when the medal happened and now this book, it solidifies the sacrifices of our unit and what the Marine Corps did in Afghanistan forever. And to, have my buddy Dakota Hughes, who was killed at 19, to tell his story, to talk about my squad leader, Zach Stinson, who I saw right in front of my eyes become a double amputee, and not only that, hear him give his, final speech to us. When you get back, take care of my wife and my daughter, who was yet to be born. His wife was pregnant throughout our deployment. And so all of those stories and the Marines that thankfully made it back, that thankfully just served and were not injured. And overall, I think I really tried to show, aside from all the big political reasons and all the craziness you can look at in the world, just the view of the boots on the ground and the people there and how they suffer and how they just hope to one day wake up and taste freedom and not worry about being killed because they want to learn how to read. And so it represents so much, just apart from my journey and my name. And it's just very, very heavy. But I am so thankful that I could shed light and kind of solidify all of our journeys and all of our stories in between these pages.
And I think you do that so beautifully. And I think you also give across a bigger message that all these stories and all these things that you and so many others went through, that the people reading it were worth it. Were worth those things that happened. I think that's a message that I haven't really seen out there, and I just think that's so powerful. And that's where the title of the book, You Are Worth It, comes from. You were speaking with a gentleman, an Uber driver, I believe, and you're telling him your story and he's telling you his, and when you get out, you say, he thanks you for your service, and you say, you were worth it, you're worth it. And that's where the idea came from. So I have a quick rapid fire, worth it, not worth it. Captain Cons, is he worth it?
Oh, of course, worth it.
All right. Is Captain Cons worth it when he talks about Army football for more than 10 minutes?
A little less.
Okay. A little less worth it. All right.
Go Gamecocks, by the way.
There you go. That's the only one. I just wanted to rip on Cons
big
for
win.
a second.
Big win for the Gamecocks. Beating Georgia.
Amazing. In Athens.
Yeah, that was great, man. That's great.
Very, very proud of the boys.
We also opened up the mailbag to some of our listeners.
This is the part that I was scared about that I mentioned at the beginning.
All right, here's the first one. It's from Matt Tatum16. He says, Kyle, how in the world do you walk around with those massive balls of steel?
Good underwear.
Easy enough.
All right.
Metal detectors and all the traveling I do is tough, though.
Yeah, I believe it.
All right. The next one people want to know, because now, like, as a Medal of Honor recipient, people forget that you probably at some point in your Marine Corps career got your ass chewed for messing up, that you weren't the perfect Marine all the time. Did you ever fall out of a hike? Be honest. Out of a ruck?
I did, yes.
Oh, wow. I was expecting a solid no there. What happened?
Well, it doesn't help that I'm 5'6" and I need like 3 strides for most normal people. But yeah, I mean, for anyone that is not a veteran that's listening, I mean, you know, and this is not an excuse. I mean, I fell out and you know, I had to pour the blood out of my boots, and I didn't know if my feet were even going to stay on after that. But you know, it's you think hiking, you just get in a line and walk, but as all of you know, to
Yeah.
put 80, 85,
Mhm.
90 pounds on your back along with your weapon, and depending on the level of motivation of who's leading it,
Sure.
I mean, you could be borderline warming up to a jog and you're going 12, 15, maybe even 20 miles. And so, yeah, I mean, they're rough, and I did, but not saying it's okay, stay in at all costs. But, yeah, I mean, I'm human,
Yeah.
and
What?
I fell out, but I turned out all right, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
And sorry for whoever,
No,
whatever
that's-
motivated senior enlisted or officer Marine was leading that, but.
Another question: who is your favorite corpsman that you ever got to deal with?
Oh, easy, Doc Friend. He saved my life.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doc. You're the man.
Are you guys still, you talk?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we went to the beach together a little while back. We went and visited him down in Tallahassee a couple months ago, and yeah, we stay in close touch. Even though I'll never be able to adequately tell him thank you, but to have a friendship with him is I'm thankful to have that forever.
Yeah.
What do you miss about the Marine Corps, and what don't you miss about being in the Marine Corps?
What I miss.
MRE omelet. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I miss not. I miss.
That says it all.
No. Yeah, right. No, I miss not knowing what lays ahead,
Yeah.
Sure.
and just the sense of adventure, excitement. Which I get those things now, but obviously in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But to kind of go into the unknown with 60 Marines around you, and it's kind of like, hey, no idea what we're getting into. It might be bad, but hey, we're all gonna go through the suck together.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yep.
And what I don't miss is hiking out into the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere, digging a hole in the ground, getting rained on, and being so cold that after that 15-day field op in the middle of February, my back was sore from shivering for like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
That
For
doesn't
sure.
seem ideal at all. So I want to play a little game to close out from our friends over at Part of My Take. As a young Marine, you got out, you've made some contact. I want to ask you, who's the most famous person in your phone?
If I told you that, I'd have to kill you.
Wow.
No. Most famous person in my phone. General Mattis.
That's a
And
good one.
Ambassador Haley. That my endorsements. And then, yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. That's a good couple.
It's actually Coach K.
Yeah.
That's from the back of the book.
Can you
Yeah, I do.
actually? Yeah. You got Zach Brown in that phone in your phone contacts?
Zach Brown is the man. He is so like.
Do you want to call him? Maybe he'll sing for us a little.
I think he's on tour right now, so
Yeah.
maybe just tune into that. But yeah, he's super supportive of the military, and I was hesitant to approach all of my endorsements because, I know what it feels like to day in and day out have, even though great people and great intentions, like,
Mhm.
a lot of times, obviously they have their own agendas, and to be asked for stuff and to do things and put your name on things and day in, day out have that. It's I didn't want to, as a friend,
Mm-hmm.
approach them and maybe cross that
Right.
line and blur the lines. But I crafted very long emails and told them my mission, why I wanted, their name, and to really make it as powerful as possible. But yeah, Zach, I reached out, and they all responded like this, which was amazing. But Zach, Hit him up. Less than 2 minutes later, responded back and said, "Just let me know what you need."
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now's probably a bad time to ask you, but we already told sales you'd do it. You're the face of our new Zero Block 30 energy drink. We're going to need you for a 30-minute commercial after this, so sorry.
Yeah, anything for the fan.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, we won't take up too much of your time. We know you're busy doing the car wash on your tour. We'd love to have you back whenever you get a chance. Go check out his book. You are worth it. It's so good. I remember sitting on my couch reading the story that Kate recounted a little bit ago with the Uber driver, crying, and I called Kyle and I was like, "Your book is so good." Dude.
Yeah.
I'm only like 4 pages in. but
Did
it's
you
so
ugly
good.
cry, Chaps?
He
I
beautiful.
cried when you were telling the
Yeah,
story
he was
earlier.
crying. I don't know if you noticed. He was crying during this interview. During this discussion, he was crying.
He elegantly cried.
Yes, he
He's
does.
an
That's why you weren't
elegant
able to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, you know I love you so much, man. I
Yeah,
think
man,
you're
love you too.
fantastic. You're a great dude, not just on the mic, but off the mic, and just the way, the things that you do and what you represent is something that I'll always respect, and I respect you so much, man.
Thank you very much, Chaps. That means a lot, and I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to round 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank
We're gonna
you
do
so
that.
much,
We're gonna
Kyle.
do that round from Mexico.
Hey,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Let's do it.